This is a full story. Kitten wishes you all a happy and enjoyable story. If there's one thing a man can say coolly at a nightclub, it's definitely change a new batch. Right after I said that, I saw my ex-girlfriend walk in among a group of long-legged girls. I lit a cigar and arrogantly pointed at her. I like the uniquely ugly ones. I'll pick her. My boss rushed over and gave me a loud slap on the back. That's the client's boss. We had almost finalized a major project, and the boss invited us to the nightclub to relax. This is the most luxurious club by the river. It's always packed, and you can't get in without connections. Today, I'll show you a good time. Sure, following Boss Bame is an eye-opener. I pulled out a cigar and lit it for the boss. I bought this cigar specifically for tonight. As expected, the quality of the girls was top-notch. There were all kinds, some in evening gowns, some in maid outfits, and others in skirts. Each one was stunning, over 1.7 meters tall, with long legs and slim waists. When they entered the room, they lined up and greeted us with sweet smiles. "Good evening, boss." Their soft voices were delightful. Boss Bame was mesmerized, and we were all dazed. Which guy could withstand this? Boss Bame picked a girl in black stockings, probably because his own secretary was too ugly. Our techie Peter chose a round-faced girl who looked soft and cute. As for me, it was my first time, and I felt a bit shy. Soon, everyone but me had made their choices. The marketing manager smiled and said, "No worries. I'll call a few more girls for you to choose from." She muttered a few words into her intercom, and before long, the door opened and a woman in a pure white suit walked in. Among all the girls in short skirts, her professional white suit stood out. Upon closer inspection, I was stunned. It was Haley, my ex-girlfriend. 2 years ago, she dumped me for a wealthy guy with a big head and ears. Now, karma had its way. She hadn't soared to become a wealthy lady, but had ended up as a nightclub girl. Today, I was the customer, her god. Thinking of this, I straightened my back. I waved my hand. "Mama San, I mean manager, I'll take her." The marketing manager smiled at Haley and then looked at me. I heard her say, The next second, my boss rushed over and gave me a loud slap on the back. "That's the client's boss." I was dumbfounded. Boss Bame eagerly shook her hand. "President Haley, you're here." Haley smiled and shook hands with my boss, then turned to me. "Boss Bame, your staff is very friendly." "Hey, they're all young. They can't hold their liquor, so, they've already had a lot," Boss Bame said, glaring at me, his face turning green. I awkwardly smiled and said, "H. Haley, nice to meet you." President Haley, you have such good taste. How was I to know women came to nightclubs for business too?" The marketing manager sensed the tension and took the other girls away. Just like that, I became the only unlucky man without a girl. But Haley didn't intend to let me off easily. During karaoke, she chose a duet. "Boss Bame, I see your employee doesn't have a partner. Can he sing with me?" Then she asked me with a sly smile, "Is that okay?" Of course, client is king. I hope President Haley enjoys. A real man can bend for success. What's wrong with that? After one song, Boss Bame used all his few praises on her. Those sugary words made my teeth ache. But Haley seemed to enjoy it, so she picked another song, then another. While others were happily with their pretty girls, I became the free entertainment, crooning song after song. After 5 songs, Haley finally stopped. But just as I sat down, she approached with a drink. "Rocky, you sing well. Care to drink a few to soothe your throat?" Who the hell drinks to soothe their throat? She looked like a schemer, thinking I was an easy mark. But Boss Bame didn't care. He was excited, like discovering a new land. "Of course, let me introduce. This is Rocky, our tech backbone. You can trust him with the project." Haley swirled her drink with a smirk. "Oh, Rocky seems reliable, not like someone who'd stab you in the back." I caught her sarcasm. After we broke up, rumors spread like wildfire. I was the one who fueled them. From then on, Haley's reputation tanked, and she lost her student council position. Not long after, she dropped out. Boss Bame had no idea and continued praising my character and skills. He didn't notice my smile was more like a grimace. By the time the drinking session ended, I was on the verge of vomiting. Haley took this opportunity to settle old scores, seriously getting me drunk. Even so, Boss Bame seriously assigned me the task of taking Haley home. In the taxi, I fell asleep, and when I woke up, we were in the western suburbs. It was the driver who woke me. "Hey, buddy, where do you live? I've been driving for almost 2 hours." "What?" My head was clearing. "The girl you just had in the cab said you lived near the West Suburban Park and told me to wake you when we got here." "I don't live here. I live in the East Century Garden." "So what? Should I take you back?" "Of course. It's pitch dark. How could I get out in this remote place?" "All right then." As I leaned back, I sensed something was off. "Driver, where did that girl get out?" "Oh, in the East too. In the Xiaoguang Villa area, not far from Century Garden." "Damn, she really is ruthless." I took the 800 yuan taxi receipt to ask Boss Bame for reimbursement. He glanced at the invoice and then at me. What's your game? Do you think I don't know she lives in an eastern villa? It's a long story, but Boss Babe still quickly signed the reimbursement form. I think Haley likes you. Make it happen. They have plenty of follow-up business. If we can snag even a bit, it'll be a bumper year for us. Alright, our company isn't big. We usually take on jobs that big firms overlook and handle outsourcing for them. But Haley hates me. Why would I want to approach her? Boss, I can't do this. If you want business, it's better to keep me away from her. I didn't dare voice the last thought. Without even trying, you say no? I'm not asking you to sleep with her. Just pay attention to the business. If something personal develops, it's not a bad thing for two unmarried people, right? Your dad was my mentor. I've got to look out for you. I sighed. There's no personal feelings, but plenty of grudges. Seeing my bitter expression, Babe thought I wanted benefits. What's wrong? No rabbit, no hawk? Fine, I'll notify HR. Your salary will double. Once we secure more business from New York, your year-end bonus will double too. Damn, it's all about the money. To be honest, I just finished renting and bought a small place, putting all my savings into the down payment. The monthly mortgage is a heavy burden. I figured I could just treat her like an elderly relative to appease her. After all, I've dealt with plenty of odd clients before. While I was thinking, I caught sight of a pair of long, white legs striding toward me. I could tell from her gait that it was Haley. Hello, Boss Babe. I heard Rocky is in charge of the project. The boss eagerly welcomed her. Thank you for coming personally. Why didn't you call? I could have sent Rocky to greet you. That's when I learned Haley used the project as an excuse for us to send a liaison to New York. Without a doubt, the boss threw me under the bus. I shot him a glare, silently cursing his entire family. He acted as if he didn't see, grinning as he urged me to pack up and not delay my report to New York. Rocky, this is a good opportunity. You'll get an inside look and find out how many projects we can take on, he whispered to me. What the hell? Sure enough, Boss Babe has no heart or brains when it comes to profit. He doesn't consider that if I could secure New York's projects with my charm, why wouldn't I just start my own company? If I'm so capable, why am I still working for you? Just to let you feast while I sip soup? This ridiculous job isn't worth it. I'd rather starve than deal with it. Just then, Haley smiled and extended her hand to me. Rocky, I'll rely on you during the project. She wore a stylish suit dress, the light blue accentuating her fresh complexion. The tailored fit highlighted her curves, and the side slit revealed glimpses of her long, fair legs. Her round face, with her eyes smiling and lips curled up just like I remembered, made my heart skip a beat, then race. On impulse, I shook her hand. Her hand was just as small, warm, and soft as I remembered. I heard myself say, okay, I'll go pack. Haley must have teamed up with my boss to set me up. Since I agreed to work at New York, it's been a week. In this week, I had no work assignments at all. After all, New York has no shortage of talented people. Our top student, Jack, works here as a junior supervisor. Haley placed my desk directly opposite her office, where she could see me easily. I struggled to remember the name of that wealthy guy. What was it? I think it was Michael or something like that. I never expected such a clueless-looking guy could run such a big business. So, Haley isn't aesthetically challenged. She has a keen eye. If it weren't for the fact that I was the one dumped, I might have praised her. New York employees were curious about my arrival. Jack asked why Haley brought me in. Was I the new tech director? I quickly waved my hands. My greatest strength is knowing my limitations. He looked at me skeptically. Then what's your role? I didn't even know, so I could only smile and shake my head. A few days later, rumors started flying around that I was a high-paid gigolo hired by Haley from another company. The reason I had no work assigned was that my job was just to keep her happy. And that's exactly what she did. In every meeting, she never brought me along, assigning me only trivial tasks. Like today, she called me into her office and handed me a poster. A famous dessert shop was having a grand opening, offering a 49% discount. She said, I want this strawberry cream croissant and that chocolate lava cake. Buy plenty to treat everyone for working overtime. When I got there, I realized the crowd was massive, with at least hundreds in line. The line moved slower than a snail, and soon I was freezing. To make matters worse, everyone else had partners to switch out for bathroom breaks, while I stood alone, my legs aching from the cold. Worse still, my bladder couldn't hold on. I turned to a guy with bleached hair in front of me. Bro, I can't hold it anymore. I'll just go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. He smiled kindly and gave me an okay sign. No problem, go ahead. When I returned and tried to stand in my place, a girl behind me refused to let me. Who do you think you are? A big guy like you, dressed nicely, cutting in line? Wait, I was just standing behind this guy, I explained, patting the guy's shoulder. What's with the touching? I don't know you. To my surprise, the guy changed his tune and looked at me with disdain. Before I could respond, the girl yelled again. Don't push your luck, trying to scam us? I didn't want to argue with her, so I turned to the guy. What's your problem? He looked me up and down, hands on his chest. Here's the deal. I'll let you stand here, but you've got to pay 500 yuan. Are you serious? You could just hire someone to hold your place. And in this weather, for a hot spot, that's the price. The girl added, if you don't want to pay, you can buy from us. One dessert for an extra 100, a cake for an extra 500, minimum 5. She stepped aside, revealing a pile of packaged bags behind her. Great, looks like I've stumbled into a scalper situation. The two of them, with their back and forth banter, made me laugh in anger. You two might as well just rob me directly. The man looked at me sideways. Dude, judging from your clothes and appearance, you must be a white-collar worker. Are you queuing up to buy this for your girlfriend? Are you so stingy that you can't even spare this little money? While sneering, he said to the people around him, being so stingy, which woman is so unlucky to be with you? Be careful that she finds a rich second generation and cheats on you directly. Probably several people around were his accomplices, and they all joined in the commotion. I shook my almost frozen arm and kicked my legs a few times. In the next second, I swung my fist round and gave him a left hook directly on his shameless round face. He was hit by me and spun around, spitting out saliva. Immediately after, the woman beside him screamed, and several men who looked like hooligans surrounded me. I have no problem in a one-on-one fight. For this kind of skinny young guy, I can handle him with one hand, but there were many of them and I was outnumbered. There were also women who rushed over from time to time and scratched me a few times, interfering with my performance, which caused me to suffer a bit. My clothes were torn and I was injured on my face. The onlookers reported the case, and I and the others got into the wailing police car and went all the way to the police station. It was really warm in the police station. I didn't even want to leave. The police said that since I was the one who started the fight first, let's see if I can reach a settlement with the other party. They also told me that those little hooligans are repeat offenders. They usually steal and do petty things. They have been complained about a lot. They all have some criminal records. Why bother with them? At this time, the police officer's walkie-talkie rang. Someone outside said that someone had come to pick me up. As soon as I went out, I happened to meet Haley. Those bastards also saw her and whistled. Oh, this idiot's partner is quite beautiful. What's wrong with her head? She likes him? Exposing her long white legs on such a cold day. So sexy and exciting. Listen to your brother and find a rich man quickly and dump this poor guy. Just as I was about to swear, Haley walked over and gave him a hard slap in front of the police. Haley took out a USB flash drive from her bag and pointed at him. I've retrieved the surveillance footage at the entrance of the shopping mall. Believe it or not, I'll sue you for illegal business operations, affray, and extortion. If I don't get you locked up, I'll take your surname. The yellow-haired guy was stunned for 2 seconds and then became furious. Just as he was about to stand up, he was held down by the police. What are you doing? What are you doing? No one is allowed to fight, a female police officer said while separating her and the yellow-haired guy. The police told the yellow-haired guy to be honest. In the mutual fight, they were many against one. Obviously, I was more seriously injured. Moreover, they had illegal acts such as scalping tickets first. The yellow-haired guy and his accomplices admitted defeat and begged to reach a settlement with me. After coming out of the police station, Haley motioned for me to get in the car. I hesitated for a moment, but still followed. She was still complaining in the car about how I could get into a fight with someone just by buying something. I didn't say anything. The car stopped in front of a very high-end restaurant. Haley said while walking in that let's eat first and talk about work later. I wasn't polite and devoured a lot of chicken, duck, fish, and meat. After I was full, I wiped the oil off my mouth. President Haley, I quit. Asked Boss Bame to send someone else over. She was stunned for a moment and then smiled. Why? Don't you want the follow-up business of New York either? I took out my access card and threw it to her. What for? I'm just a worker. I can't compare to your background of marrying into a wealthy family. I know you don't like me and want to mess with me. Now you should be satisfied, right? After saying that, regardless of what she thought, I limped home. This restaurant happened to be not far from my home. I had a big meal and saved dozens of yuan on taxi fare. After resigning, I can save a little if I can. As soon as I entered the house, Boss Bame's call came in. Why resign? I don't agree. I ignored him and hung up directly. He called again immediately. This time his voice softened. If you don't want to stay in New York, just come back. Why resign? Haven't I been good to you usually? How old are you? I thought about it and simply laid my cards on the table. To tell you the truth, I have a grudge against that woman, President Haley. If you want to establish a long-term cooperation relationship with New York, the first step is to get rid of me. He hissed on the other end of the phone. Impossible. I'm good at judging people. Why do I think she likes you? I was almost made to laugh in anger. For a woman like her, who can she like? She just wants to mess with me. Do you know what people in New York say about me? They say I'm her kept little boy. Not to mention the orders. I haven't even touched the door door of the conference room. Forget it. Let's stop here. After resting at home for 2 days, I started looking for a job. Strangely, when I had interviews at several companies, we had a great conversation, but there was no follow-up later. Even more ridiculously, for one company, it was basically settled, but in the end it fell through. When I asked for the reason, the personnel manager hemmed and hawed for a long time. I understood her implication. It was that I didn't pass the background check. It shouldn't be Boss Bame's doing. Although he is a bit greedy for money, he is not a bad person and has been good to me. Haley, is she trying to force me to compromise? Although I need money, if she wants me to earn money on my knees, it depends on whether I am willing or not. I registered an account for food delivery and started delivering food. At first, I had no experience in grabbing orders and was not familiar with the routes. I didn't earn much money and was also fined for a few orders due to complaints. It's so difficult. The due date for repaying the loan this time is approaching. I gritted my teeth and borrowed 10,000 yuan from a friend. At this time, I received a call from Jack. He said he knew I had resigned. Coincidentally, he knew a company that was in need of a technical manager. He asked if I would like to go. It's just not a big company and can't compare with New York. He added, no, thank you very much already. I thought to myself that Bame's company is not that big either. We are all from the same university. Don't be so polite. He paused and then said, don't blame the personnel department. They all have to listen to the higher-ups. President Haley is actually not a bad person. She just has a bad temper. This company is fine. The treatment and leadership will definitely satisfy you. I went to the company recommended by Jack for an interview. James, who was in charge of the connection, was very satisfied with me and completed the entry procedures for me on the same day. He took me on a tour of the company and introduced that the company had not been established for a long time, but there were quite a lot of projects, so there was a great need for manpower. He also asked me if I had any colleagues with a good relationship who could be introduced. The treatment was favorable. I casually made a few polite remarks. I said that I could see that our company was quite powerful. There were so many projects to do so soon after it started. If there were suitable talents, I would definitely recommend them to the company. After I got familiar with the work at hand, James asked me to follow the business side. When they were negotiating orders, they needed a technical person to answer questions on the side, so I went along. Then the more I listened, the more I felt something was wrong. This was fucking trying to snatch orders from New York, wasn't it? For some of the upcoming orders of New York, a part will be outsourced to other studios to do, similar to Bames. This company has quite a big appetite and dares to directly compete with a big company like New York. After my subsequent observation, I found that this company was focused on reaping behind New York. If they couldn't lobby decision makers with money, they would start a price war. It seemed that the original intention of their company was not to make a profit, but to compete. Other colleagues couldn't help but have some discussions. In response, James explained that if we wanted to increase our popularity, market share, and reputation among customer groups, of course, we had to benchmark 1 or 2 leading companies in the industry. I thought about it and still called Boss Bame. He seemed to have just woken up and was speaking a bit groggily. It took him a long time to recognize me, and he was quite happy. I asked him how business was recently. He was silent for a long time and replied, "There's still no problem supporting you. Come back." From his tone, I judged that it probably wasn't good. I thought about it and said I wouldn't go back for now, but then his tone suddenly became excited. When others told me, I didn't believe it. Now I believe it. You've climbed a high branch. I don't care what grudge you have with President Haley. I haven't offended you anyway, have I? James is not a good person. You won't get any good following him. Recently, more people have joined the new company. Peter, my former colleague who likes cute girls with round faces, also came. He was quite surprised when he saw me and quietly asked me about the treatment the company gave me. They all said you were out of this circle. I didn't expect we could still be colleagues. He patted my shoulder. He is a senior employee at Bame's side. Even he has been poached. It can be seen that Bame's days won't be easy. Unexpectedly, he asked me in return, "Didn't you know that Bame is quitting?" I shook my head. What's going on? He threw the cigarette but on the ground and stomped on it hard. Well, with projects and employees lost together, how can we continue? Didn't Bame just take on a project from New York? Specifically, I don't know. Anyway, later New York withdrew all the projects one after another. Colleagues are all spreading that it's you who offended the female president of New York. You resigned and left. Bame suffered as a result. I saw Haley again a few days later. I was pacing back and forth downstairs at her house. From a long distance, I saw her car coming. I was so cold that I rubbed my hands constantly and greeted her timidly. In this situation now, I feel a bit complicated in my heart. I don't even have the confidence to be angry. Back in college, I was on the basketball team. In the cold winter months, I had to get up early to train. Many times when I went downstairs, she was always waiting for me timidly downstairs in the dormitory like this, hunched over. Her nose was red from the cold. She took out the still warm buns and soy milk from her arms and let me eat my fill before going to exercise. Now I am just like she was back then. Maybe people are all like this. You say I hate her, but when I encounter a similar scene, the first thing that comes to mind is still her kindness. But I know she must hate me. She has always been a very career-oriented person. She is articulate. In college, after layers of selection, she joined the outreach department of the student union and brought in sponsorships for many school activities. The teachers liked her, and the classmates were jealous of her. Some people spread rumors that her means were not clean. She ignored them. Until we broke up, I scolded her for being immoral and having abnormal aesthetics. With the iron testimony of a person close to me, the previous rumors were brought up again. A few senior sisters who had been displeased with her before got together and directly expelled her from the student union. She quickly went through the procedures for suspending school. Until graduation, I never saw her again. In fact, later I thought that I should have asked her if she had encountered any difficulties or if she was really short of money, so she chose to be with that fat guy Michael. Even if it was a lie to me, at least I got a quick answer in the end. I suddenly wanted to ask her together, although it might be a bit late. Let's go. I'll treat you to a meal, I said. I took her to eat Chongqing hot pot. This is what she likes. I can't eat spicy food at all. Speaking of it, when we were in college, in terms of diet, she was the one who accommodated me more. I ate the steaming hot pot in silence with her. The spicy smell that hit my face made me cough continuously. When we had almost finished eating, I asked her, if you have something against me, come at me. What does it have to do with BAME? She put down her chopsticks. Rocky, what do you mean? It's just what it sounds like. I know you hate me for what happened back then. Now you are powerful and finally have a chance to take revenge on me. If you have the ability, keep chasing after me. What does it have to do with BAME? No, Rocky, are you sick? She stood up. You waited for me for a long time just to be sarcastic? Hey, no, I haven't finished yet. Why are you in such a hurry? I waved my hand to signal her to sit down and said, you are powerful now, not because you are really powerful on your own. Isn't it still relying on others? I found that Haley's eyes were red. Sure enough, it was because this hot pot was too spicy, right? Rocky, it doesn't matter if you don't know, but don't talk nonsense. After all these years, you are still the same. She stared at me and said almost through gritted teeth. At that moment, a fat guy brushed past me and knocked my phone to the ground. He was probably a bit drunk, just glanced our way, not even bothering to say sorry. Just as he was about to continue walking, he pulled his foot back. Hey, I just said, where did such a beautiful girl come from? Isn't this Haley? The voice sounded familiar. I took a closer look. What a coincidence. Isn't that Michael? He didn't recognize me, but something about Michael's words felt off. Aren't they together? Haley glanced at me, stood up, and gestured to move to another spot, but Michael wouldn't have it. He squeezed in beside me, grinning, and asked, Haley, you just like this kind of pretty boy, right? I remember in college, you liked a guy just like him. What's this? Now that your dad is dead, you think you're all that? After saying that, he picked up my phone and patted my shoulder. Sorry, bro. Knocked your phone over. In the next moment, he smashed my phone hard into the hot pot. The scalding oil splashed onto Haley's arm, and she cried out in pain. I punched him squarely in his greasy face. Just like that, Haley and I ended up sitting in a police car together. The fat guy fainted after a punch. At the hospital, the doctor first applied ointment to Haley, then went to check on the fat guy, saying, nothing's wrong, just drunk. Given his provocation while drunk, the damage to my phone worth several thousand, and the injury to Haley, he'd likely be locked up for a few days after sobering up. Haley and I were soon released. I walked her to her doorstep. She told me, this is my home, my own home. Then what about that dead fat guy? I had seen her getting in and out of the same car as Michael, right? She was just a regular boarding student like me before. After getting with Michael, she became a day student with a driver. Her clothes and possessions had been upgraded significantly. This can't be fake, can it? She whispered, it's true. Because Michael's mom is my dad's mistress. I widened my eyes. The relationships were getting complicated. You didn't expect this, did you? The mistress lives better than the official wife. Michael was born to his mom and her ex-husband, but that doesn't stop my dad from being close with them, while my mom and I were pushed aside. Men's brains, haha. I interrupted her. Don't generalize about men. Your dad's just sick. Not all men are to blame. Later, my mom found out my dad planned to make a will. I lost my home with my mom. I can't let my dad give the company we built together to Michael. I shamelessly got close to Michael, going home with him every day. Even though Michael's mom is a mistress, she likes mingling in high society circles, very concerned about her image. She's afraid of others gossiping behind her back, so she treats me decently. Later, my mom used some tactics to get some shares from my dad, sold them off to start New York, which caused a lot of trouble for Michael and his mom. But good times didn't last 2 years. My mom found out she had late-stage stomach cancer. I felt dizzy, hoarsely asking her, "Why didn't you tell me about this?" She glanced at me with resentment. "Why should I say anything? You don't even verify things with me first. It's one thing for others to say nonsense, but you even helped stab me in the back." I was already overwhelmed and confused. Later, I thought, I didn't have the energy for a relationship. I was going to drop out anyway, so it was whatever. Hey, so, I'm not even worth an explanation or a chance to make amends in your eyes. She trailed off, feeling deflated. How could I be any better? Hearing others stir up rumors that she got in Michael's car, I reacted like a fool. I got drunk, venting my frustrations to those big mouths, listening to them say they would help me get back at her, and I foolishly sent them red envelopes. Thinking about it from her perspective, if I had a stupid boyfriend like that, would I even want to salvage things? Of course not. If I didn't hit him, it wouldn't be true love. I wanted to say sorry, but it felt like more words were stuck in my throat, not knowing which to choose. She observed my expression and said, "You're not thinking of saying sorry, are you? No need for that. Delayed affection is worse than a dog's worth." Damn, her words left me gritting my teeth. Just as I was about to retort, she suddenly changed the subject. "Do you know why your BAME boss quit?" Oh right, I had just been talking about the BAME boss when Michael interrupted me. "The BAME boss's matter really has nothing to do with you?" Seeing her brows furrow again, I quickly added, "And that company called Sam's Club, now openly challenging you. I guess you've lost quite a few orders." She nodded. "Sam's Club first wiped out a bunch of small companies because small companies are financially fragile, unable to withstand much turmoil. It thrived by preying on them and is now starting to compete with big companies. Your BAME boss lost several projects and many people were poached. He was so stressed he had a stroke, but thankfully it wasn't severe. But the doctor said there would be after effects like slurred speech and mild paralysis, so I gave him some money to buy the company, to let him rest and also have some cash for emergencies. No wonder when I called BAME that day, he sounded fuzzy and was in a bad mood. I didn't dig deeper. He didn't want to close the company because he was still thinking of you, concerned about the future of the other employees. But his current health situation isn't suitable for work." She hadn't changed. Though sharp-tongued, she remained loyal. "I thank you on behalf of the BAME boss. That money, I will pay it back and buy the company back. That's nothing. By the way, do you know who the boss of Sam's Club is?" She changed the subject again. "Isn't it that guy named James? That's just the public face. The real backers are Michael and his mom. Since my dad died, they've got a lot of money, so they're running around causing trouble, trying to bring me down. I'll be honest with you. I'm currently working at Sam's Club. Damn it, I'm quitting tomorrow." My anger was about to boil over. She rolled her eyes and scolded me. "Always losing your temper. Can you use your brain? Not arranging a job for you was intentional. I wanted to make some traitorous people firmly believe that I have a grudge with you, and you're a reliable person to win over. I finally got you into Sam's Club, and now you're telling me you want to quit, so that's how it is. Given today's situation, Michael has completely forgotten about me, so I'm quite safe. The person who introduced me to this job was Jack. It seems he has a special connection to Sam's Club." I nodded. "I know what to do. I started working hard, even putting in extra hours. Sam's Club likes to undercut prices to grab clients, right? Let them grab all they want. Their unethical practices have become well known in the industry. No small companies are willing to take on their outsourcing. After all, with so many cautionary tales around, fattening up Sam's Club might mean their own downfall next. And the projects Sam's Club snagged at a loss require hiring more people, which in turn raises labor costs." I took the lead, sharing contacts with familiar clients with the sales team. I also helped the sales team promote and find projects, bring in clients. It's said that in a recent internal meeting, Haley stated that New York wouldn't engage in a price war with Sam's Club. When James heard this, he scoffed. "She doesn't want to be led around by the nose. But clients aren't stupid. Once they lose all their projects, I'll see how she remains defiant." Before long, clients in the industry had heard of Sam's Club, not only offering competitive prices, but also employing many seasoned professionals. The major project at the end of the year finally arrived. It's a big tender. Small companies can't handle such large orders due to the long payment cycle only a few competitive firms can manage. That day, James called me into his office. He said I had been performing well lately, working very actively. After some pleasantries, he started probing, asking for key information on related projects from the past 2 years. I told him I didn't have much internal information, but I had a colleague at New York who was well connected. He said New York was taking this big project very seriously, wanting to give it their all. James stared at me for half a minute, seemingly judging the truth of my words. But Haley has publicly stated that she won't engage in vicious competition. James, I've treated Sam's Club like my home. You can see how much I've done for the company. He paused for a moment, signaling me to continue. So I calmly analyzed. If we lose this big client, New York will be severely weakened. If you were the boss of New York, how would you choose? To be honest, New York's President Haley is an old acquaintance of mine. She has a strong personality and will find opportunities to retaliate. After hearing this, James finally nodded with a smile. After the bidding opened, I intentionally had people in the company check which firms bought the bid documents. New York was indeed the first. As I said, this time New York seemed to be going head-to-head with Sam's Club, with prices tightly matched. Even when Sam's Club's people tried to gauge the client's stance, they hit a wall. Michael began to get restless. I saw him come to the company several times, throwing tantrums in the general manager's office. I've already spent so much money. If I can't take down New York, you can get lost. When he left, James looked displeased. Being scolded by an outsider must have made him very unhappy. During the final bid, Sam's Club chose to cut prices again. While New York's quote rose instead, Sam's Club won the bid. Michael was still foolishly happy, unaware that experienced employees in the know had already started updating their resumes. A huge project with a long payment cycle and little profit felt like a hot potato that couldn't be eaten or discarded. Outsiders envied it, but only those involved knew the pain. When Michael's family finally realized what was going on, James had long since resigned and fled. But this approach was ultimately a case of hurting oneself while attacking the enemy. New York gained little advantage. Sam's Club had thrown the market into chaos, and New York was struggling to return to its peak. Haley, however, saw it as an opportunity to clean out those long-hidden troublemakers. The market was bad. It was a good time for layoffs. In fact, she had long seen through Jack as not being trustworthy. After I resigned, the one secretly sabotaging my interviews was also him. Everything was because he wanted to use my knowledge and resentment towards Haley, ensuring I could join Sam's Club. A true schemer, but I finally had a chance to deal with him. Haley reopened Bame's studio, making Jack the head. He certainly looked down on this small company, thinking it was a demotion, a disguised exile, knowing he couldn't survive at New York. After making a fuss, he wanted to go to Sam's Club. He was James's connection, and when James's plan failed, he fled. Michael, furious, intentionally raised the price to lure Jack for an interview, humiliating him publicly. Jack, who had always been arrogant, couldn't handle it. He immediately caused a scene, and Michael had people beat Jack up, reportedly injuring him quite badly. No one knew how long he'd be punished this time. This circle is small. After I understood the ins and outs, I couldn't help but laugh. Watching dogs fight was quite enjoyable. I took over Bame's studio, keeping the name unchanged, reopening it. I called him to explain everything, telling him that once he recovered, I would work hard to help buy the company back from Haley. Bame sounded much smoother than our last call, cursing me, "You idiot, if you become family with President Haley, you wouldn't have to spend money. Don't talk about my small company. One day, New York will have half of what you have." I awkwardly coughed twice. "Bame, uncle, you take it easy. I won't disturb your rest." Upon hearing this, he got excited again. "You think I'm greedy for that little money? Let me tell you, that girl Haley definitely has feelings for you. If I'm wrong, I'll chop off my head. Not your head. It's already bled before. Who wants it? Just take care of it, okay?" Rocky, you think I don't know? I don't know which idiot, after drinking too much, kept hugging her and even shouted, "Haley, live this life once. Just don't regret it." Bame's voice echoed through the car's Bluetooth. At the red light, I quickly hung up, glancing at Haley sitting in the back, her eyes closed, not knowing if she was asleep. Thank goodness. I let out a gentle sigh. Before meeting a client, Haley went to the hospital to change her dressing. Her arm burn was mostly healed, leaving only a shallow pink mark. The doctor said with proper care, there shouldn't be a scar. Honestly, I felt quite pained. I wondered if she heard Bame's words, but they kept echoing in my ears. We only live once. I didn't want to regret it. As I went downstairs, I barked loudly. Woof woof twice in the elevator. A mother and daughter pair looked at me warily, shifting to the corner of the elevator. Haley stared at me. Did the elevator door hit your head? Woof, woof, woof. Is that enough? If not, I'll keep barking. When the elevator doors opened, the mother and daughter rushed out. Rocky, what are you going crazy about again? She pressed the door open button, seemingly wanting to escape. Haley, didn't you say before that late affection is worse than a dog? I'm all in. If I'm a dog, then I'm a dog. What nonsense about apologies? Those words are useless. I just want to pursue you again. Even though our statuses have changed, I'm thick-skinned. I'm not afraid. You can notarize property, and I'll cooperate. If you have no feelings for me anymore, just slap me as an apology. From today, I'll give up on this idea and focus on working with you to repay BAME. I didn't know why, but as I spoke, I suddenly felt a sense of impending battle. My eyes got warm, almost tearing up, but I managed to hold it back. She was stunned for 3 seconds and then decisively slapped me hard. The sound of that slap was so loud that an old man passing by dropped his stainless steel lunchbox on the ground. I only felt a buzzing in my head, as if it had suddenly expanded several times. Sweat also began to appear on my forehead. No, Haley, you really hit me as hard as you can with a free slap. You'll scare others again? The left side of my face was so numb from being slapped. Fortunately, as soon as she let go, the elevator door closed again. You've hit me. Now we are completely even. Why? Can only choose one? I won't. This is what you owe me. As she said this, she took a step forward, grabbed my collar, and said triumphantly, Rocky, even if I hit you, you still have to chase me again. I stared into her cunning eyes and said, damn. The end. If you like Kitten's story, please follow and like it. Updated every morning at 9 a.m.